Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming back to the channel for another episode of On the Record. Though I had trouble naming this one. I could have easily named it another episode of Crypto Scam because we are going to discuss a project and a token in depth. And my guest for this episode is Ronnie Moas, who's been on my channel before. I did a little interview down in Miami. Ronnie, how are you, man?
Not good, not good. I wish I could tell you otherwise.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I'm sure your life has been a complete hell over the last probably about 30 to 60 days. In light of the whole dig incident, we're gonna go back to the beginning as to how it started. We're gonna walk through it. We're gonna talk about lessons learned and what are you doing going forward. Because I'm sure you would like to get your reputation back and what you want your followers and people in general to know about it happen, and how to most importantly, how to prevent others from ending up in your position, and how to educate people going forward. Because contrary to what people think about me, this channel is fully dedicated to education and preventing bad mistakes going forward. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into screen share. Oh, but before that, hey, Ronnie, let's talk about your background a little bit. Let's try to keep this short because we have so much to cover. I know I've seen you on CNBC, but give us like a 3-minute rundown of yourself.
I was a sergeant in the Israeli army. I have a master's degree in finance. I've given more than 100 television, newspaper, radio, and magazine interviews. I've been a headline speaker, as you know, at conferences around the world. Most recently, I shared this stage with Brock Pierce and, I'm blacking out now.
McAfee.
Charlie Lee from Litecoin. Charlie Lee, right?
And Charlie Lee was there. McAfee was there. I was there.
You were there?
The cruise. I'm talking about the cruise.
No, I'm talking about the World CryptoCon in Las Vegas.
Oh, World CryptoCon. Yeah, I missed that one, but we were all on the cruise together.
That was one of the best conferences I've ever been to. And if they invite you next year, if you have to pay your own way, it's worth going. That's how good it was. So I have a top 20 ranking in the stock market for my performance from 2008 to 2017. That covers more than 500 recommendations that I put out. Every single one of them was timestamped intraday by Bloomberg and Dow Jones Newswires. I made a transition from the stock market into crypto on the 3rd of July, 18 months ago. Actually, 18 months ago today, the 3rd of July, 2017, Camila Russo from Bloomberg put out a headline that went viral. Prolific stock picker Ronnie Moas sets $50,000 Bitcoin price target for 2020, which I have not backed off of yet. So I didn't stop my stock recommendation service. The problem is crypto became 90% of my business overnight when this headline went viral. And then at the top of the market, 2,500 people signed up for my service in December and January a year ago.
All right. Wow. That's a huge subscriber base. I know my followers know that I have not gotten into the That's okay.
I'm getting a lot of prank phone calls.
Yeah, that's what happens when your number gets out there. I've been, there's a couple of things that I've done when I joined the space. I've been in the space a few years more than you. I tried keeping my phone number out of it, and I also tried some details out of it. Again, for reasons that we're going to get into. Let's jump to the beginning, right? Let's talk about when did you start? When did crypto first came on your radar? I'm assuming it was very early 2017.
No, you're not. I've said this story many times. I had a couple of hundred subscribers, customers for my stock recommendation service. It was. And, the lion's share of my revenue was coming from a few institutional clients. And I was happy with that. I'm not a marketing person. I was not interested in growing my business. I don't like doing sales and cold calling for new subscribers. So I had a couple of hundred subscribed clients or customers, whatever you want to call it. The lion's share of the revenue was coming from clients like Royal Bank of Canada and Fidelity. And I was taking in a couple of $100,000 a year for 10 years or so. I had a nice run and I lived very well off of that. And then on the 27th of June, one of my subscribers in Dallas sent me an email that I will never forget as long as I live. He says, Ronnie, buy Ethereum, you're welcome. That was the whole email.
What year, Ronnie? What year was that?
June 27, 2017.
2017, okay.
So this is 18 months ago. He says, Ronnie, buy Ethereum, you're welcome. First time in 2 years that this subscriber sent me an email. I said, I better take it seriously. You know what I did, Tom? I went to Yahoo Finance, I punched in Ethereum and nothing came up. I sent an email back. I said, there's no stock named Ethereum. And he says, it's not a stock, it's a cryptocurrency. I says, what is a cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin? He said, yes. I said, I don't even know what Bitcoin is. That weekend, I started looking at Ethereum, but I have a very short attention span. And within minutes, I said, I'm not interested in this. I want to cut to the chase. I want to see what this Bitcoin is about. And within 48 to 72 hours, I realized that this thing that was trading at $2,570 was worth $50,000 if I looked out 3 years, I'm sorry. And I wrote—
Why? What brought you to that conclusion?
Well, first of all, I didn't think that the gold market should be worth 300 times. Well, let me put that in today's terms. I didn't think the gold market should be worth 150 times what the Bitcoin valuation was 18 months ago. I don't know how much gold there is in the ground, but I know how much Bitcoin there is. And I think I know what the demand is going to be in the next couple of years. And when you get these watershed moments that I'm expecting in 2019, and that drives demand, at the same time, the amount of Bitcoin hitting the market gets cut from 730,000 a year to 365,000. That is going to create a parabolic move that will probably knock out the high that we saw a year ago. We've had already a dozen corrections in Bitcoin in the last 10 years, and every single correction had one thing in common. It was followed by a parabolic move that knocked out the high from the previous cycle.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so in June of 2017, you started researching crypto for the first time. You got
It was the end. It was June 27th, and I went public a week later on the 3rd of July.
And on the 3rd of July, and when you went public on the 3rd of July, what was did you only go public talking about Bitcoin or
Yes.
also about Ethereum?
I went public with Bitcoin, and then I put out shortly thereafter an 87-page report where I also recommended Litecoin and Ethereum in the same report. So those were my first 3 crypto names that I went out with.
Got it. And those reports came out when? In like August, early August?
Yeah, I think the 87-page report probably came out in late July or early August. Yeah.
Late July, early August. Okay. Right. So I'm looking at it actually. So from that time period when those reports went out and when you're recommending it, so Ethereum and Litecoin are actually down from the prices they were back then. Bitcoin is still higher than the price that Bitcoin was back then. Yes. So when you initially came out speaking positively about Bitcoin, your report also recommended Litecoin and Ethereum. Yes. Now, the rest of this interview will focus on DIG, but since we're on this topic, what is your current view of Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum? Are you still, like, I understand your Bitcoin target remains $50,000 by the end of 2020. I personally think that's possible. I myself will give that a slightly less than a 50% chance, but it's not that far less. But it's possible. I think it was a reasonable target, especially back then. You came very close. It went all the way to 20, even in 2017. But what is your current outlook for Litecoin and Bitcoin hasn't changed? What is your current outlook for Litecoin and Ethereum? I'll give you an extra year. Let's go to 2021.
Well, what I think is going to happen is I think that in the next 12 months, 12 to 18 months, my target for the end of next year is $28,000 on Bitcoin. In fact, at the conference in Las Vegas, I was on stage with Vinny Lingham, and I bet him $20,000 that we would hit 28,000 by the end of next year. By the end of this year, I'm sorry, 2019. We have less than 12 months to go. And it was a bet for $20,000, and the money would go to charity, okay? Whoever lost would have to pay $20,000 to charity. And so let's just look out to the end of this year, 2019. My target is 28,000. Let's say I'm off by a few months and it takes 18 months to get there. That would be a 7x return from where we are today, right? 700%, right?
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
A little bit more than that.
Yeah.
I believe that the altcoins, let's just focus on the names in the top 40. Some of them will go up 2, 3, 4x between now and then. I don't think they will be able to match the Bitcoin return. I think a lot of people are dying to get just some of their money back on the altcoins. And then a lot of people are going to start thinking more along the lines the way you've been preaching for the last couple of years as a Bitcoin maximalist. And I wasn't on the same page with you on that. But after we spoke a couple of days ago on telephone, I'm not going to say you won me over, but but after what happened with Dig and after what I see happening to the altcoins in the last year, you have bragging rights right now. Now, if Bitcoin goes up 100% in the next 6 weeks and the altcoins go up by 500%, you won't look so smart. But but if I'm looking out 12 to 18 months, I think you're right. I think Bitcoin market share is going to rise from where it is right now at 50%, if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to move towards 60 or 70%, and there will be a flight to quality. I think people are waiting for a dead cat bounce on the altcoins, and when we get that, people are going to start taking their money out of those altcoins and putting more of their money into Bitcoin.
Okay, so do you want to make a price prediction for Litecoin or Ethereum, or you want to stay away from it? Either answer is fine. I'm just curious.
I think you'll probably get, if Bitcoin goes up to $28,000 in the next 12 to 18 months, which would be a 7x return from where we are today. Bitcoin, Litecoin and Ethereum could probably go up 2, 3, 4x between now and then. I tried to get an answer out of Charlie Lee, who I spoke with in Las Vegas. I asked him a question. I said, I believe that Bitcoin is going to have a really big move. One second. I told him that, give me 1 second, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
1 second.
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things. So I'm, as you guys know, I'm on slightly opposite side of Ronnie on this one, in that if altcoins are rising faster than Bitcoin, then we're in a dead cat bounce. And I believe the bottom will be marked by Bitcoin separating from the altcoins, where Bitcoin will start to rise at a faster clip than the altcoins. Once Ronnie gets back, we're gonna dig into the Dig thing, which is
yes, I'm with you now.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just like I said, I'm on a slightly opposite side of that.
So let me finish my thought. So I asked Charlie, I said, if the Bitcoin halving is kicking in May of 2020, and the Litecoin halving is kicking in August of 2019, does that mean Litecoin could have an outperformance before Bitcoin? And he was very, he says it's possible. And I was also speaking with his assistant, John Kim, and John also said it's possible. But if you believe that the Bitcoin halving, when the supply of Bitcoin hitting the market gets cut in half in May of 2020, if that's going to cause a move higher in the price, of course, if you get a spike in demand at the same time the supply hitting the market gets cut, then you have to believe that the same thing would happen with Litecoin. But
well, Ronnie, can I throw something at you? And why I think it's the opposite of that is because Bitcoin is considered to be a store of value. So when Bitcoin's production gets cut in half, it makes people want to hoard it more because very new little Bitcoin is coming in. And while the obvious thought process is, hey, the same thing's going to happen to Litecoin, I don't believe Litecoin is a store of value. I believe Litecoin, just like Bitcoin Cash, are more for transactional currency without the store of value component. So when something like Litecoin, when its production gets cut in half, it endangers their mining because people are not hoarding it. And therefore, I don't expect the price to rise, but your reward of spending money to mine it goes significantly down, and it endangers the mining structure. And therefore, Litecoin becomes more insecure with every halving.
well, that's one of the reasons my price target in percentage terms for Litecoin and or Ethereum is not what it is for Bitcoin. I believe that, I think people learned a lesson here. When the market cap, the total market cap hit $800 billion back in January, I told people, if you're not taking profit on these names that I gave you in the second half of 2017, like Cardano and Stellar and Monero and Dash, and all these names that jump by between 500 and 1,000%, you're foolish. You could have taken 20% off the table, pulled out what you put in, or even double that, and then rode the rest. And people did not take my advice. And a lot of people say, oh, I wish I would have sold Bitcoin at $20,000. That's bullshit. No one was going to sell Bitcoin at $20,000 on the way up because John McAfee said it was going to $1 million. And there was a fear of missing out. And nobody wanted to sell it too soon. And I'm not picking on John McAfee. There are other people that had price targets where he was.
I pick on Mike Novogratz the most for this one.
Mike, James Altucher also had $1 million target. I think Tim Draper also had a target that was hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that was reckless and irresponsible. Because when you put price targets out like that, you're pushing people in a direction where they are going to take a bet that they can't afford to lose. People were selling assets to come up with money to buy something that they thought was going to go up 25 or 50x.
Yeah, I agree. And towards the end, we're going to try and spend a little time at the end talking about how what kind of percent allocations people should be putting in these speculative assets to be responsible.
Yes.
But I do want to jump into your experience with Dig.
Yes.
And
can you hold that thought for 1 second, because I don't want to forget what I wanted to just say in response to what you just said. I want to say, and I'm saying this for the 100th time, when people have money, they are supposed to be splitting it up across stocks, cash, bonds, gold, art, crypto, silver, and real estate. That's 8 asset classes. You should not be putting more than 10 to 20% of your money in crypto. Now, I understand if you're in a third world country with $2,000 in life savings, you're not going to be diversified across 8 asset classes. But still, I tell people all the time, do not take a bet that you can't afford to lose. Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum has a place in a diversified portfolio, and you should never put more than 1 to 2% of your net worth in any altcoin. I don't care what it is. With Bitcoin, you can go to 5, 10, 15%. But anybody that puts more than 1 to 2% of their net worth in any altcoin outside of Bitcoin is looking for trouble. And I think people already figured that out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. The only thing I will throw at you is, let's say you only put 1% into Ethereum, but then Ethereum goes to $1,600 and it just became 20% of your entire investment portfolio. What do you do? What do you recommend then?
Well, people always have to rebalance their portfolios. If you put 1% of your net worth in Ethereum, and then all of a sudden it becomes 20% of your net worth because it goes from $100 to $2,000, then you have to take 25% off the table or 50% off the table and reevaluate what the weightings are in your portfolio now that something went up 2,000%.
Okay, that's very good advice. Hopefully people will follow it going forward. All right, let's jump in. This is Ronnie's Twitter. You also, I know you've been blocking a lot of people, especially over the dig outcome. We are getting a lot of people in the chat asking you to unblock people that were calling dig a scam months ago. I'm going to answer for Ronnie. When I've blocked a lot of people as well in a while, it's almost impossible to go through your block list and figure out who was who. So usually when people get blocked, they almost never get unblocked unless you meet them in person. I'm pretty sure Ronnie will unblock you if you happen to run into him and tell him that you got blocked because of the bad things that you said about Dig.
I'm not unblocking anyone. I have zero tolerance for people that try to undermine me on my page, people that post nasty, obscene, anti-Semitic comments on my page. If you are blocked, open up another Twitter account and behave like an adult next time you come on my page. I don't unblock anyone. I blocked more than 2,000 people in 2018 on my Twitter page for posting anti-Semitic, obscene, nasty, and sarcastic comments on my page. And 9 times out of 10, they were weighing in on something that they had absolutely no understanding of. And I'm sure you've dealt with that before, like people trying to debate you on Bitcoin, which you know better than all of your followers put together. So I don't.
Yeah,
I don't unblock anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people the same thing. If you get blocked by me, getting unblocked is almost impossible. Right. Okay, so very quick shameless plug. Not even gonna scroll down. The Unconfiscatable conference in Vegas, 24th to 26th. Is going down. Please check it out. In case there are people watching this for the first time, go to unconfiscatable.com for more information. All right.
One second, Tone. We can't have this be all serious. All right. What the World CryptoCon in Las Vegas kicked off with a celebrity poker tournament at the magnificent Poker Go studio next to the Aria Hotel. And I was on the same table with the #1 poker player in the world, Phil Hellmuth. And I actually got to interview him after the tournament at the magnificent studio there. So if you go to YouTube and you Google my name with Phil Hellmuth, you could see me interviewing him for 15 minutes. Charlie Lee was at that tournament, and Brock Pierce, who I just spent a few days with in Puerto Rico, was at the tournament as well. And it was really amazing. It was a
very cool. How many people played in that poker game?
It was 81 people, and there were 9 tables, 9 people at each table. Within 4 hours, everyone was eliminated. And I think the lead sponsor of the poker tournament was ARK. You know, the cryptocurrency ARK. I think they're somewhere around 80 on CoinMarketCap. And Travis Wright from ARK was on the same table with me as well.
Travis Wright, doesn't he have the podcast Bad Crypto?
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, Travis got in my head. I think his name was Travis Walker.
Okay. Yeah, okay, got it.
That was a bad slip. I think his name is Travis Walker. ARK, yeah.
Yeah, ours, we don't have any sponsors yet. This is just a grassroots movement. We'll see how I do with this one. All right, let's get into the actual podcast here. So here is the total coin market cap. I'm just gonna do a search for Dig, and let's see where it is. Nope, that's Digibyte.
It'd probably be about 500 by now.
There it is, Dignity. Okay, I should have just typed in Dignity. Okay, yeah, it's currently at 563. I do have it opened. I just want to run through the history real quick.
I think you need to refresh the page. That didn't look like a good price quote that I just saw at the top of this page you're showing.
This one?
0.058. Refresh that page. There it is. That's right.
0.044. Right. So it's now just under half a cent.
Yes.
Okay. So the coin market cap chart only goes as far back as April. Your history with Dick goes further than that. I want to run through the history real quick, and then we're going to talk about
Tom, there was a ticker symbol change. It used to be UNY, and then the ticker symbol switched. That was part of the scam. Yeah.
Right. Anytime your currency changes, rebrands, it's a huge red flag, guys. I've talked about it many times. It's a huge red flag anytime there's a rebranding. It's a way to just eliminate history from Twitter searches, not Twitter searches, sorry, like Google searches, making it harder to do any kind of research. Just kind of like it's something I learned back when I was in my university. I was like, I don't know, like 17, 18 years old. And there was a guy in my class that was like an Estodes that was like going for a science degree instead. And he said this one phrase that I still repeat. He said, you can either dazzle them with brilliance or baffle them with bullshit. This is why Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper is only 3,000 words and 9 pages. And white papers like Steemit are 42 pages. And I'm not sure how long the Dig white paper was, which we're also going to mention.
It's longer than Steemit.
Oh, God. Okay, right, exactly. So it's this dazzle them with brilliance versus baffle them with bullshit.
Let me take that one step further. My old boss, his name is Buzzy Geduld. Herzog Hein Geduld, it was the second largest market maker on the NASDAQ. They were taken over by Merrill Lynch 17 years ago, around the time that I left and went off on my own. And Buzzy is someone who you can't bullshit. And he once told me, Ronnie, I don't want your 20-page reports. If you can't explain to me in 2 paragraphs why I should be investing in something, I'm not interested. Yeah. And that's a brilliant line when you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So so we already went through some of your history, right? You found out about crypto in late June 2017. In July 2017, late July 2017, you started publishing reports about some of the top tier cryptocurrencies like Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. And when did Dig first reached out to you? Because I believe they reached out to you to do a private report on them. And I'm curious what the purpose of that report was going to be.
Okay, so these people, all of this is starting to make sense to me now. I flipped on this name on the 28th of November, a day after I bought 440,000 at 0.018. And I have been on a campaign to just drive them out of business since the 28th of November, and it dropped 75% since then. I mentioned to you earlier that I didn't know what Bitcoin was until the 27th of June. The headline with my price target went viral on the 3rd of July. 8 days later, I met with James Lee Goldberg from Dignity. 8 days later. So I was very new in the industry, and I think that's why they targeted me. They wanted someone from Wall Street that they could fool and pull a scam on. And I was the target. And I just realized it 5 weeks ago, 17 months after the fact. And
right,
all of the red flags started popping up since the 28th of November.
Right. So that's the 28th of November, 2018, but they approached you back in July of 2017.
The first meeting was the 11th of July, 2017. I imagine James Lee Goldberg saw the headline that went viral on Bloomberg. And within a week's time, he had already figured out a way to meet with me.
So let's start. Since you brought up the name James Lee Goldberg, let's kick off with a little background history on James Lee Goldberg. Looks like he's been involved in a lot of companies, and more than half of them have been shut down by FINRA.
Exactly.
So he's been in the financial space since the 80s. And what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the companies he was directly involved in, and probably like a C-level manager. They have all been shut down by FINRA, probably for financial violations.
Yeah, I found out about this on the 28th of November. That's when I found out about it, and that's when I just couldn't believe it, because what happened is I was dealing with James Lee Goldberg. I thought his name was Jamie Goldberg. I found out that his name was James Lee Goldberg on the 28th of November, when a friend of mine who used to work for the Secret Service called this to my attention. And same thing with the COO, Stephen Lance Braverman. I thought I was dealing with Stephen Braverman. His name was Stephen Lance Braverman, and I found out he was also with a bunch of firms that were shut down by FINRA. The ringleader in Toronto is worse than both of them put together, and there's a fourth person involved here. I knew him as Tom Runk, James Lee Goldberg's partner in an artificial intelligence software system that identifies short squeezes. And when James met with me, he says, Tom Runk used to be partners with Harvey Pitt, who was the chairman of the SEC. So I knew, so I never did any background checks on them. I thought they were 100% legitimate. They all made a couple of disclosures to me in the initial conversation. I didn't think they were deal breakers. I didn't know that they were hiding all of this stuff from me. On the 28th of September, 2018, Thomas Carter Runk was charged by the SEC with securities fraud. And I found out about this only on the 28th of November, 2 months after the fact. Not only did they hide this information from me, but James Lee Goldberg told me that Tom Runk was meeting with the NASDAQ on behalf of Arbitrate, because they wanted to integrate their artificial intelligence system with the Bermuda exchange that they were opening. And if you don't think that the Bermuda exchange was happening, guess what? It's being debated on the floor of the Bermuda Parliament as we speak, because there are people there that still think this is a legitimate operation. They bought a $6 million building, Victoria Hall in Hamilton, Bermuda, $6 million. The names on the certificate of the purchase was James Lee Goldberg and Troy James. And I thought, wow, they already bought a 7-story building in Bermuda that was going to be the headquarters for the Arbitrate Exchange. This has to be legitimate. And then it dawned upon me. They were dumping DIG on my subscribers for the last 10 months. They put millions of dollars in their own pockets. And they bought a few things like mining rigs and a building in Bermuda so that you would think it was a legitimate operation.
All right. Yeah, we'll get into some of the details on that, but we're sticking with the people involved. So looking at the histories of these people, and people are important. A lot of people, they keep pitching you these altcoins and all of these projects, and no one is actually looking into the people. I've done some of this stuff when I was when I did my research on Ethereum, when I did some of my research on the other coins. And a lot of them are bad. Like when I started looking into token pay, there's definitely issues in history there. And if anyone looked at all of these disasters, they usually end with people like the recent one with the one we covered on our law show with the Bloomberg terminal for crypto, also out of Canada, big time scammer, and a lot of people got involved. So, okay, so Ronnie, so they actually that's actually impressive that they approached you literally within a couple of weeks of you.
No, it took 7 days.
7 days. Within 7 days of you promoting Bitcoin on, you're a Wall Street guy on CNBC, and they approached you. So when they approached you, and we're gonna get to Tory, the head leader, Tory James,
Troy.
a little bit. Troy, sorry, Troy.
And by the way, if you Google Troy James Colonial Hotel, Grand Bend, he just bought a hotel with my subscribers' money on the 8th of November.
Colonial, I can't spell to say.
Grand Bend, just type in Grand Bend. I would put Grand Bend in that. Troy James Grand Bend Colonial Hotel. B-E-N-D.
Grand Bend. It's the same.
And punch in Colonial Hotel in that window as well. Punch in Colonial next to Grand Bend.
I'll just put hotel.
That's not coming up. Colonial. You got a typo there.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same Reddit post. I'm sure the Reddit.
You have to click on news. Click on the news tab. Yes, news.
Arbitrate gain consensus. Yeah. Winston Churchill.
I put it at the top of my Twitter feed yesterday. If you scroll down my Twitter feed, you'll find the article. Just scroll down to last night. You'll see the link to the article from the newspaper. A little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. Look how, there it is. You passed it.
This one.
Yes.
Okay, Grand Bend. Yep, I got it. All right, we'll take a look at that in a minute as well. Okay.
He's been buying other pieces of real estate in Canada as well with the money that he stole from my subscribers.
Right. So let's talk about this, right? So they reached out to you. Now, was DIG already on a token that existed when they reached out to you, or was this a token they were going to do in the future?
It was trading under the ticker symbol UNY.
It was UNY. Oh, okay. What did UNY stand for?
Unity.
Oh, Unity. Okay, and then they changed it to Dignity.
Yes.
Okay, it's amazing how they're naming these things is the opposite of what they are. That's great.
Exactly. Exactly.
But okay, so the token had already existed.
You want to hear something? You want to see something else that's funny? Scroll down this article that you have on your screen right now.
Yep.
Look at the quote from Troy James at the bottom. He didn't want to see it fall into the wrong hands. That's why he bought the hotel.
Nice. Got it.
He's a pathological liar and a scam artist. This is a man that will destroy the lives of thousands of people just in order to put a few $1 million in his pocket. How could I have known that I was dealing with 3 people that would be willing to destroy the lives of hundreds and thousands of people in order to come up with some money to buy things that they don't even need? When I met James Lee Goldberg, he was living in a $3,000 a month apartment. I was in that apartment. 6 months ago, I was in his new house, $6 million. And Thomas Carter Ronk was in the house at the time that I visited him.
Yeah, no, it's very, very lucrative to print your own money. This is why I've been anti altcoins. Maybe we'll get to that towards the end. Okay, so I like getting my timelines done. So they reached out to you 7 days in. The Unity token already existed, and they asked you to write them a private report.
Yes. They wanted me to write a report for their internal use. And I made it clear to them right off the bat, I've been in business 20 years. I've only taken money from one company in 20 years to write a report. And there was no buy recommendation attached to it, right? I said, if you want me to write a report, a research report for internal use, I can do that. But this is not going to see the light of day. It's not going to my subscribers. And there's not going to be a recommendation attached to it unless you show me everything that you tell me that you're doing right now. So we agreed on the price. They wanted to pay me, I told them I wanted $80,000, I think it was, to write the report.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong business, Ronnie. Holy shit.
Look, it was a few weeks' work. I have expenses. I'm in a 40% tax bracket. And there was an opportunity cost as well. The time that I was spending writing that report, I could have been dealing with the traffic that was going to my website, which I completely neglected after my headline went viral around the world. So, I wanted cash because I didn't want any conflict of interests. I didn't want my name, people to think that I was promoting something that I had a position in. And Jamie says, can we give you half cash, half coin? And I said, okay. So they gave me $40,000 cash and 2 million UNY, which at the time was trading at 2 cents. But when they gave me the 2 million DIG, the 2 million UNY, I assumed that it was going to go to zero. And it was thinly traded. I had no intention of selling it. I wasn't expecting to make any money off of it. So instead of getting the 80,000, I got 40,000, which was less than 2% of my revenues in the last 18 months. Do the math, okay? So I told them, I gave them the report, I think it was in August, okay? And I held on to it for 6 months. It was collecting dust for 6 months. I gave them.
So do you know what they did with that report?
Well, let me, I'll take it one step further. I'll tell you why they wanted the report. they wanted the report. They told me it was for internal use. And that wasn't there. I think when now in hindsight, I realized that when he contacted me, he wanted me to write a report that was going to go out to the world, right? But when I made it clear to him in that first meeting, that's not happening. I'm not for sale. I'm not selling you a buy recommendation. He says, no. We don't need you to send it out to anyone. We just want it for our own internal use. I said, what does that mean? He says, we have board members we're trying to bring on board. We're meeting with the government in Bermuda. And if they ask us for a report on our company, we want to be able to show them something that was written by someone who is independent of the company. So I said, okay. I worked on the report for a few weeks. I gave it to them, I think, in August. And I never shared it with my subscribers. A few of my subscribers did get the report because I let people know that I was working on something, but I wasn't ready to recommend it because I didn't have what I needed in order to put my stamp of approval on it. So a few of my subscribers pressured me. They say, Ronnie, give us the report now. I understand that it's really, really risky, but I'm willing to take that risk. I understand that you haven't signed off on it yet. You haven't finished your work on it yet, but give it to me anyway. And there was a few people that got that report from me. But basically, it was collecting dust on my shelf for 6 months. Now, the turning point was on the 8th of February. If you remember, I got struck with Bell's palsy. If you remember, my face was sagging. You interviewed me in April. Now,
right. Before we get to February, there's still, we got 6 months in between. I just want to maybe like 4 or 5 months in between.
Okay.
I don't want to go to February yet, right?
Okay.
You write this report. How long was the report? Good, like 30 pages?
35 pages.
35 pages. Okay. And so when you were writing that report, did you go visit? You went to visit the company. You learned about their business model.
Yes.
All of that stuff.
Well, there was no company to visit. Okay. The physical inspections that I made was on the 6th of June, 2018. I went to their mining rig operation in Atlanta, and I posted 18 photographs on Instagram. And it was like walking into a Boeing factory. There were tens of thousands of mining rigs there. It was state of the art. It was run by Hayden Gill from CoinMiner, who Brock Pierce told me they're in very good hands if he's the guy that's running their mining rig operations. They told me they were going to have 100,000 mining rigs up and running by the end of 2019. And they also told me each DIG token was going to be backed by $1 in gold bullion. Okay. And the CEO signed off on a press release 2 months ago saying that they got the gold and it was audited. And this is the guy who has his name on the Queens College Business School in New York, was a vice president at Pepsi Cola. Now I deviated a little bit. I visited the facility in Atlanta on the 6th of June. I visited the 100,000 square foot facility in Watford, Ontario, outside Toronto on the 8th of October. And on the 4th of November, I met with the CEO in Los Angeles for 4 hours. And he met 20 of my subscribers the following evening at my meet and greet at the Andaz Hotel in Los Angeles.
And all of this took place in 2018.
Yes.
Right. So back to 2017, you finish writing the report around August.
Yes.
And you're sitting on this report. A handful of your subscribers saw it, and you still have your 2 million. When did they rebrand? Do you remember approximately what month and what year they rebranded to DIG from NYU?
I think it was the beginning of 2018.
Beginning of 2018. Okay.
Yeah, so the press release was that Arbitrade was acquiring DIG, which at the time was CryptoBontics.com. CryptoBontics, be like boy, ONTIX.com. I don't even know if that website is up anymore. CryptoBontics.com was acquired by Arbitrade, which was going to be an exchange headquartered in Bermuda that would compete with Binance and Bitrex and Coinbase.
Right. We're gonna get to that. So I want to again just a brief thing on timelines, right? So they rebranded to DIG around the same time the project was acquired by Arbitrade.
Yes.
So it was like a double thing. We rebrand and we get acquired by Arbitrate. We're gonna get to Arbitrate, and so their prior website, Crypto Bontics, was the Unity coin. It rebrands to DIG Digcoin as it gets acquired by a company called Arbitrate that is going to build a new exchange with ties to Bermuda. We're going to get to that as well in a minute.
By the way, you see that what you're looking at right now? That's the artificial intelligence report from Tom Rank. I was on his mailing list for a year. He told me that he spent years and millions of dollars developing the system that identifies short squeezes in the stock market. This is the guy that you can Google his name and it comes up with Harvey Pitt, the ex-SEC chairman, in the same article.
Right. Well, this guy, Thomas Rank, the one that got charged by the SEC like 3 months ago.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So you have the report. You're watching. So you still you held on to your 2 million coins, which became Bitcoins, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so now we're talking early 2018. You decide to share the report with your subscribers. Do you remember what month you shared the report with your subscribers?
I will never forget the day as long as I live. It was the 8th of February, 2018. I saw DIG jump. It may have been UNY at the time. I don't remember if it was UNY or DIG, but it jumped 1,100% in one day. 8th of February. If that's not on your chart, then it was UNY at the time. It probably was UNY.
Give me 1 second.
It was the 8th of February. It was the 8th of February. It jumped 1,100% from 0.2 of a penny to 2.4 cents on $500,000 volume.
Yeah, I wonder if no, they don't have UNY. Again, this is the problem with altering your name, because like the history doesn't always transfer. Okay, so the price of the coin jumped from what, sub 2 cents to over 2 cents?
No, it was 0.2 of a cent. It went to 2.4 cents, 1,100% in one day on $500,000 volume. And my mom was visiting from Israel. It was a day before my birthday. And I said, holy shit, why am I sitting on this report? Something is going on here. Everything that they told me might be true. It looks like someone was acting on some inside information. Did they get the license from Bermuda? Did they get the gold? Was it audited? Did they get? Are they getting listed on a major exchange? Is the new white paper coming out? Is the new website coming out? Something happened that day. And I don't even think it took me 5 minutes. I said, holy shit, I need to get this to my subscribers right away. This might be my best idea in 20 years. So I sent the report out to 3,000 people. I warned everyone there that I do not have everything that I need in order to sign off on this. They should not put more than 1 to 2% of their money in this name. But it might be my best idea in 20 years. It just jumped 1,100% in the last few hours. And I think maybe I should not be sitting on this report any longer. And I sent it out. And by the middle of May, it was at 28 cents, up 1,300% from the time of my recommendation.
Right, and you still hold that 2 million coins, right?
I can take it one step further. In the middle of May, when this hit 28 cents, I had 2.2 million. It was worth $600,000 US, which is more than what my net worth is today. Okay, $600,000. And I said, why am I holding on to this? And you know why I held on to it? I held on to it for the same reason I held on to my Bitcoin. I felt that it was still undervalued. I believed what they were telling me. My price target was that it was going above 40 cents in the very near term. I didn't sell any of it. And today I hold 2.926 million DIG. I promised my subscribers months ago that I would never sell this on the way down. And I would never jump in front of my subscribers. And if this goes to zero, which it did, I am going to show you a screenshot showing you that I have 2.92 million of this. And I put the screenshot on my Twitter page on New Year's Eve. 2.926 million. It's going to take you a while to scroll down there, but you'll find it.
Gotcha. So they paid you an initial 2 million at 0.02 cents. That was 40,000.
No, 2 cents.
It was two. Yeah, sorry. Point. Right, you're right. At 2 cents. Then it jumps to 20 cents. So you bought an additional.
It is 28 cents actually. Yeah.
Did you buy an additional 200,000 coins at one point?
No, I think what happened is in September, if my memory is correct, in September of 2017, Troy told me that the report I wrote in July was already outdated. And then he wants me to rewrite the report. And he needs it right away. And I says, I can't rewrite the report for you in September. I have a trip to Europe that I already paid for. He says, then I will pay you to cancel the trip. In other words, I'll reimburse you for the hotel and airfare that you already paid Expedia for your trip, but I need you here in September to rewrite the report. So he paid me another 200,000. Okay, I think if my memory is correct. And
we're talking September 2018, right?
No, 2017.
September 2017. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's how I went from 2 million to 2.2 million in May of 2018.
Got it.
Since May of 2018, the thing dropped like a rock. It went from 28 cents down to a penny. And I was buying on the way down just to show my subscribers how much conviction I had in this. On the 27th of November, I posted a screenshot. I bought 440,000 of this. I think it was at 0.018 on the 27th of November. Up until the 27th of November, I believed that this was happening.
Right, but wait a minute. But now you have less than 2 million coins, right? So that means you
I have 2.92 million, almost 3 million.
Oh, 2.92. Oh, okay, gotcha. So they gave you 2, then they paid you another 200,000, and you bought some more at the very end of the year. Oh, I got it. So
I bought a few times during the course of the year. Every time it went in hard, I felt that it was being manipulated by people that wanted to knock it down so that they could accumulate at a lower price. It was very thinly traded, Tone, on one exchange. So if you dumped $50,000 of this with a market order, you could have dropped the price 20% in 15 minutes. And every time that happened, I would step in and I would say, here, I believe it's being manipulated. I'm stepping in. I just bought more of this. And I built up a position to 2.9 million on the 27th of November.
Okay, got it. All right, so tell us what changed in November, and tell us what you've been doing since you came to the realization that something is wrong, and walk us through that thought process and what you've been trying to do to rectify it since then. I will still hear you, but I just gotta walk away for 1 second. I gotta roll over to my kitchen, take care of something, but I will still hear you. I have my speaker nice and loud. But tell our listeners what changed in November and what you've been doing since.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
All right, well, I want to explain why I'm laughing right now. I just met with the FBI. I think you should, I just met with the FBI on the 26th of December. And I wish they would have asked me the questions that you're asking me now. In fact, one of the 2 agents thought Bitcoin was a scam. And I almost got into a heated exchange with him. And then I calmed down. I figured this is not a guy I want to argue with. So what happened on the 28th of November is I was speaking with someone who everyone is very familiar with in the dig community. And his name, I don't even want to mention his name, but we spoke on the 28th or the 29th of November, and he used to be in the Secret Service. He also used to be in the investigative division, New Jersey State Attorney General's office. And he says, Ronnie, I have some bad news for you. Tom Runk, who you knew as Harvey Pitt's partner, his real name is Thomas Carter Runk. And he was charged by the SEC with securities fraud on the 28th of September. The person you thought was James Goldberg is James Lee Goldberg. And I just pulled up a broker check report on him, which I had never seen before. And it listed at least 5 firms there that he was with that were shut down by FINRA. Steve Braverman, you thought you were dealing with, his real name is Stephen Lance Braverman, and he was also with 5 firms that were shut down by FINRA. So I had never done background checks on these people before, and I was not aware of this until the 28th of November. Now, one of the questions that people have been hitting me with recently, and they have a right to be upset, is why didn't you do a broker check or a background check report on these people a year ago? And the answer is very simple. I have put out more than 500 research reports in the last 10 years. And I never did a background check on anyone tied to any of those 500 companies. I'm not a private investigator. I did not do background checks on 5,000 people. When I go to a website like arbitrate.io, and Tone, you probably should pull up their homepage right now, and I see a page listing 12 people on the board, each one with a resume that is more impressive than the next one. I don't do background checks on these people. I assume that they've already been vetted before they got on to the board. There were 6 more faces there, if I'm not mistaken, Tone. And I met with a lot of these people in person. When you see something like this, you don't do background checks on these people. I have other things to spend my time on. I have 122 open recommendations right now, 95 in the stock market, including 13 that I added on Christmas Day and 28 in crypto. I don't do background checks on people. And in my legal disclaimer on my reports, I write very clearly that my reports are not comprehensive. I encourage people to do some of their own research and to get second opinions. There have been dig chat rooms running for the last year. No one ever called this to my attention, ever, not one time. The backgrounds on James Lee Goldberg and Stephen Lance Braverman, and nobody called my attention to the fact that Thomas Carter Rank was charged by the SEC on the 28th of September with securities fraud.
Right. So Steve Braverman is listed on this site, but the main ringleader, and I am going to pull up your tweets with your
the ringleaders here are Troy James and James. But I think Stephen Braverman, who actually is on the board and was my closest contact point on the board, is involved here as a ringleader. So I met him on the 4th of November. I met him 3 times actually, and I've had hundreds of messages exchanged with him in the last year. I met him on the 4th of November in Los Angeles. We went to the Lakers game on Sunday, November 4th together. We went out for dinner. He told me he was on his way to Malta to meet with the CEO of Binance. He came and spoke to 20 of my subscribers on the 5th of November. And every single person that was in the room, there were more than 20 people there. Every single person probably went home after hearing this guy speak for a half hour and bought more DIG. That is what an impression he made on everyone. He just stood in front of us and lied to our faces, and you never would have known that he was lying to you. He said this is about to get listed on 14 different exchanges, including Binance. And I have more than 20 witnesses that were there.
So I want to talk about Troy James for a little bit. So Troy James, what was his role in Unity and then Dig? And because he's not listed at all on Arbitrate. So what is it? Because I'm seeing he's actually the owner of Arbitrate, and yet he's not listed on their website.
Well, this is what happened. The Arbitrate, this is all part of the scam, and it's all started to make sense to me in the last few weeks. In order to get a license in Bermuda to operate an exchange, the Bermuda Monetary Authority has to give their approval on this. And the people that are on the board have to be vetted. Apparently, the board knew that Troy James would not get through the vetting process. And they realized that James Lee Goldberg would not pass through the vetting process. So the two ringleaders here were completely separated from Arbitrate, even though it's their company. And they were the ones managing the Litecoin wallet with 3 billion DIG that was dumped on my subscribers in the last 10 months.
So I started Googling Troy James, and he has like lots of, he has a pretty big scammy history. I mean, here is stuff from February all over Bitcoin Talk, basically talking about how he has multiple identities, and he was involved in something called, oh man, what was it called?
The Affluence Network.
Affluence Network. Yeah, what is the Affluence Network?
I don't know. Now, what happened is when
I was like, it seems from what I saw, it looks like a complete MLM Ponzi scheme.
Well, this is what happened. I never did a background check on Troy James. The first time I spoke with him on the phone, it was a conference call with James Lee Goldberg. And you know what the first thing they said to me was? They said, Ronnie, before we even get to step one, before we even get to first base with you, me and James just want to let you know that each of us have one disclosure so that you don't have to go through the trouble of doing, they didn't say that. They didn't say you don't have to go through the trouble of doing a background check on us, but it was implicit in what they said. James has a stain on his broker check report from 30 years ago. I said, okay, it's not a deal breaker for me. If everything else that you're telling me is true, I can look past that. He did something wrong when he was a stockbroker in the 1980s. A lot of stockbrokers did things that were wrong in the 1980s. I think there was not that much regulation back then. And when the spread started shrinking, they were desperate to keep the same income that they got used to having when the spreads were wide, right? And then Troy told me that he has a problem on his background check. And it was tied to this, the Affluence Network. And what he led me to believe was that it was something like an Herbalife thing, right? Which might not be the most kosher business in the world, but it is legal. And it has a $10 billion valuation on the stock exchange, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, and he says also, Ronnie, you're going to Google my name and there's going to be a lot of stuff there that is not true. And I said, I don't have a problem with that because there's a lot of stuff on the internet about me that's not true. Okay, you can't believe the things that people have written about me on the internet. I have dealt with the scum of the earth in the last few weeks. The scum of the earth, deranged and disturbed bastards and degenerates. They've written things about me that were not true. They wanted me to sit on the sidelines and allow DIG to pump this on 14 different exchanges so that they could make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this. And I said, it is not happening over my dead body. This is a scam. It needs to be shut down. I already had 2,000 subscribers of mine lose money on this. I've had hundreds of subscribers get destroyed because they didn't listen to my warning about diversification. There is not a chance in hell that I'm going to let this go to 14 different exchanges and claim 25 to 50,000 new victims. I have a 3 million position in this. If I allowed them to pump this up to 50 cents next month, my position would have been $1.5 million, 3 times what my net worth is today. And I walked away from it because I am a man of principle and I am straight as an arrow. And these bastards who have written things about me on the internet that are not true really should burn in hell for what they've done to me. I don't think anybody has any idea what I've dealt with. My phone has rung 7 or 8 times since this interview started. These are prank phone calls coming in 24 hours a day on my personal phone number.
Yeah, no, you're definitely you're definitely being the taking the brunt of the big issue, and yeah. So
I'm sorry, 1 second, Tony. People are upset with me because I'm not allowing the scam to continue, and I reported them to the FBI, the Ontario Securities Commission, who I spoke with today, the Bermuda Monetary Authority, and the Securities and Exchange Commission, and instead of targeting their attention at the ringleaders of the scam, they're upset at me because I'm not allowing the scam to continue. They don't like getting scammed, but they don't have a problem dumping their shit on someone in China right now. So these people are hypocritical bastards who don't have a moral compass.
So let's talk about those discussions. Like, so you've spoken to the U.S. SEC, the Canadian version of the SEC. You've talked to some higher ups in Bermuda, and you've talked to the FBI.
Yes, I met with the ex-premier of Bermuda, Michael Dunkley. That's BDA Milkman on Twitter. Capital B like Bermuda, D like David, A like Apple. BDA Milkman. Michael Dunkley. I met with him for nearly 3 hours on the 12th of December in Miami. And he was the person that went to the floor of the parliament in Bermuda and said to the party that's in power, what on earth is going on here? You guys let these people buy a building in Bermuda, and they're using the name of our island, which is highly regarded, as a celebrity endorsement for their scam.
And how is Bermuda involved in this? Let's back up a little bit. I don't think we cleared that up.
Well, Bermuda, I think, is the gold standard. When I came into the business 20 years ago, half of the hedge funds were domiciled in Bermuda and the British Virgin Islands. Maybe you remember that. It's a British territory. And apparently when you get an approval from the Bermuda Monetary Authority, you're in really good shape. That's like a celebrity endorsement, unlike anything you've ever seen. The Bermuda Monetary Authority never got an application for a license from DIG or Arbitrade. But Arbitrade had some people in Bermuda that gave them a green light to buy the building in Hamilton, Bermuda. I believe, and this suspicion has already been raised on the floor of the Bermuda Parliament, that someone over there may have gotten some money under the table, probably DIG in a Litecoin account somewhere. And they let Arbitrade walk right into the arena. And they have been riding this affiliation with Bermuda for the last 10 months now. And it gave them a lot of credibility.
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen going forward? Though I actually, no, you know what? Hold on, before we get there, I want to go back to screen share. I want to pull up some of your tweets because you are sharing some, again, we're going to go back to the early days. This is back in November of 2017, where Troy, that's from, the email sent from Troy is telling you that he's been speaking with Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yes.
Is this them taking advantage of you being new in the space?
100%. And if you noticed, I think right alongside that, I posted another message from James Goldberg, which is even more, there it is. That's it. Yeah.
Ronnie, I told you personally on the phone with Troy that my contact is partners with the person who uses that name. It's my contact, as I think your memory is getting tired. This is a weirdly phrased sentence. We discussed all of this on the phone. Okay, so, this is them trying to convince you that they know Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, and if you scroll down, you could see that I expressed concern in my response.
Yeah, you're saying you didn't think anybody knew who Satoshi Nakamoto was, so you're telling them that you are suspecting them of lying, and they're trying to wrong that they do know Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yes, but you have to understand, thousands of emails, text messages, and WhatsApp messages have been exchanged in the last 18 months, more than a dozen meetings, and dozens of phone calls. And this was just one message that I barely remember this exchange. I just found this a couple of days ago when I was going through all of the thousands of messages. And 9 times out of 10, the messages look real, like this is really happening. They got the mining rigs, they got the gold audited, they bought the building, they got new people on the board. But this is a red flag that I overlooked. But even at the time, even though it was a little bit suspicious to me, it was not enough. It wasn't a red flag or a fire, because I believe there are people that know who Satoshi is. He's not God. There are people that know who he is. if Brock Pierce or Jimmy Song or Tim Draper or Charlie Lee told you that they knew who he was, would you believe them?
Um, you know what? I'd have to be put in that position. I mean, if Jimmy Song came to me saying that he knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is and he's been interacting with him, I would still be a little bit skeptical. But
you wouldn't walk away from this name, which had 50-1 upside, if they're telling the truth.
No, but there's a big difference, right? Because I know Jimmy Song and I respect Jimmy Song. If someone I've never met before was telling me that they know who Satoshi Nakamoto was, I would be very, very skeptical. And again, this is the difference, what happened with you, because you were so new in the space in 2017.
Well, yeah, but you have to understand, you don't know what I saw in the last 18 months. When I went to Jamie Goldberg's house a few months ago, and by the way, when I met him the first time, he was living in a rental apartment for $3,000 a month. Last time I visited him, he was in a $6 million house. And when I went to his office in his house, you know what was on his table? It was a legal document, 20 or 30 pages thick. It was a bid to buy 51% of the Bermuda Stock Exchange. I said, what is that? He says, take a look at it. I flipped through it. It was a legal document to buy half of the Bermuda Stock Exchange. A real legal document. And that was that was a turning point for me. That was like something concrete. And I said, holy shit, this is really happening. They had name dropped, not just Satoshi on me. They name dropped on me the Mossad, Brinks, Lloyds of London, the NASDAQ, CNBC, Najarian, Kevin O'Leary, and the governor of Tennessee. And when I saw that bid to buy half of the Bermuda Stock Exchange, it was a legal document. I said, wow, this is really happening. And only on the 28th of November, a few months later, I said to myself, holy shit, that document was planted a few minutes before I got to Jamie's house. And he probably showed that to a lot of people.
Right, so they made it, you think they made a fake document and he kind of let it hang there?
Yes.
The Bermuda Stock Exchange.
I believe they went to their lawyer. I think his name is Mr. Duncan in Bermuda. They went to him. They said, we want to put in an offer to buy 50% of the Bermuda Stock Exchange. Here are the conditions. And he drew up a 20, 30-page document. And he may have believed that they were actually legitimate. Now he knows that they're a scam because I've copied him on the last 50 emails that I sent out to the ex-premier and the Bermuda Monetary Authority and other people that I am reporting this to.
This is their lawyer, the
yes.
Arbitrate's lawyer.
Yes.
All right. And have you had any contact with him? What has at all, or are you just copying him on all the emails?
Yeah, he has not responded to any of my messages because he's representing them. A lot of what really set me off was a few weeks ago. I think it was the 12th of December. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but they sent me a cease and desist letter. When I flipped on them on the 28th of November and they saw how infuriated I was, they realized that they do not want to fuck with me. They know that I have enough to get all three of them thrown in jail. Within a few days, I got a nasty cease and desist letter from their lawyer in Miami. It was one page. It looked like James Lee Goldberg wrote it, but it did come from their lawyer in Miami. I flipped out when I saw that. They basically were trying to silence and intimidate me with legal threats. And I completely disregarded it. I think since they sent me that cease and desist letter, I tweeted more than 1,000 times about this situation.
Right. And you also reached out to Texas and their Securities Commission to try and get some kind of action from a state. How did that conversation go? Looks like
this is a message that someone sent me yesterday from the state of Texas, letting me know that they are pretty strict over there. And if I have subscribers that are in Texas, I might want to reach out to this office as well. But I'm only one person. Everyone's complaining about how much money they lost, but nobody has come to assist me in my pursuit of justice here. I'm on my own dealing with the FBI, the OSC, the BMA, and the SEC, trying to get a class action lawsuit together, trying to go after them for personal damages to me, and getting them thrown in jail. And I'm doing all of this on my own right now.
Right, because you're trying to get a class action going against Arbitrate, but like I've heard rumors of the last couple of weeks that people are trying to get a class action lawsuit going against you because of the whole subscriber thing. Is there any, well, like, what are you hearing about that through your channels? Because I'm not, because I got so much going on, so I haven't really been paying too much attention.
I have hundreds of people that can't stand me right now. They think they have just been wiping up the floor with me in the last few months. First of all, they're upset at me that I recommended a name that lost 95% of its value. Then, to add fuel to the fire, I decided to drive them out of business and report them to the FBI. There are people here that have big positions in this, and they are trying to slander me and discredit me so that when I go to the authorities will question whether I am legitimate, okay? So there's a big campaign right now on the internet to just destroy my name. And it's a very small percentage of my subscribers, but they are making a lot of noise. I've posted dozens of letters from my subscribers on my Twitter feed in the last month, and each one of them is more impressive than the next one. And I would like you to pull up the most recent one that I put up today. And this is my subscribers. And I can give you 100 testimonials like this. But there are a lot of people that are not subscribers of mine who went into DIG. They never got any of the hundreds of pages that I've written on this, and they have absolutely no idea what's going on. Now they understand what's going on.
Right, because people see mentioned.
When could you just go back to? Let me see where that was. It. Oh, you might be going too fast. I really wish you could pull up that letter from my subscriber that I posted. It was sometime in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, no, I saw it. It's
I think I even sent it to you in a private message.
Yeah, but I don't want to pull that up.
There it is.
Yeah, it's probably this.
Yes.
So
please read that.
You want me to read it?
You can read it, please. I'm wiped out.
Yeah, this is for all your subscribers. Dear Ronnie, after following you and reading all of your emails for almost a year, I feel that I live by a similar code. I feel that you believe and live by integrity, honesty, authenticity. You are a person that is always looking to do the right thing. You love helping people, relationships. I'm going to skip a little bit. Dig and arbitrage seem to be coming from the polar opposite to you. Apparently, Dig used your good reputation and yourself to conduct to line their pockets with money. Timing is everything, and Dig found you at a perfect time. I can only imagine the anger, disgust, frustration. Yeah, so it's pretty much everything we've discussed.
And you skipped over something important. They found me at a perfect time, just as I got thrown into a brand new asset class.
Yes, correct. Yep. I read the first half of that, and we did cover it here.
And I've posted dozens of letters like this from my subscribers in the last few weeks. But there are people that freeloaded off of my DIG call, which I was forced to go public with when they mentioned my name in a press release a few months ago. And so a lot of people that went into Dig are not subscribers of mine. They have no idea what I've written about on this name. And they don't know about how many times I've warned about not putting more than 1% of your net worth into this name. And they're just looking for a punching bag. They lost money in crypto, and I am an easy target. I'm also Jewish, I'm Israeli, I'm liberal, and I'm outspoken. So when you have 44,000 people on Twitter, you're going to end up with 400 people that can't stand you. And some of these people are really deranged and disturbed individuals. I don't even want to tell you some of the things they've done to me in the last few weeks. They've, sent me email. I don't even want to repeat it. You just can't imagine these people who I'm dealing with right now. They're trying to defend a position that they accumulated. They thought they were going to laugh all the way to the bank, and I shut it down. And now they got wiped out. So it shouldn't surprise you that they're trying to slander me and go after me on social media.
Again, I have lots of subscribers, lots of people watch this show. By the way, we have about 1,000 people watching, and I constantly get people watching my show for God knows what reason, because they don't like anything I say, but they continue to watch just to put their bad comments in. And But yeah, but this is like you said about a lot of the people that went into Dig and are now holding you responsible for it. They're not even subscribers of yours, and that's because you mentioned Dig positively in a couple of tweets, and then everyone starts buying into it based on considering it your recommendation.
No, but I have to be honest here. I didn't just put out a couple of tweets. I was tweeting about this on a daily basis for the last 10 months. I'm sorry, the last 7 months. And there's a reason for this. People said that I was pumping this. I wasn't pumping anything. The company was not putting out any press releases. And if 2 or 3 days went by and my subscribers didn't get an update from me on this, I would get dozens of emails. Ronnie, how come you haven't mentioned DIG for 3 days? So, and if I would mention it every day, people would say, why are you pumping this? Did you get paid to promote this? No, I didn't get paid to promote it. Now, why did I go on Twitter? The company mentioned my name in a press release without my permission, I think back in May. And then misinformation started going on the internet that I am paid to promote DIG on Twitter. It's not true. And I was the only person that could counter all of the garbage that was being spread on social media. And I was forced to talk about this almost on a daily basis. There were people that were saying it was a scam. They had no idea what was going on. And I have 2,000 subscribers in this name, and no one's defending their position. So I was on there on a daily basis, defending them and acting as investor relations and public relations for this company. And I was never paid a dime to do it. But if I wouldn't have done it, there would have been a lot of misinformation spreading on the internet. Now, I didn't go into the chat rooms. It could be a lot of this, all these red flags that we're talking about right now that I discovered since the 28th of November. It could be that stuff was on Telegram a year ago, but I wasn't on Telegram because I found that environment to be toxic. And it felt like a nursery school to me. I went on there for a few days about a year ago, and I got out and I would never go back there again. I would have to scroll through 500 messages to find something that was valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I think we're starting to wrap this up here. I mean, for me personally, right? So I've been in a space early 2013. I was when I first got into Bitcoin, early 2013, or like end of Q1 or something. I wasn't public at all. I spent an entire year trying to learn all I can. But I wasn't a public person. You came into this as a public person. So you came into crypto from a completely different environment than I did. I made my reputation within Bitcoin. And one of the things that I've always been trying to be careful of is ending up in this unfortunate position of trying to promote a coin. And for me, from a fundamental perspective, I trust Bitcoin and I don't trust anything else. And that's why I stay away from everything else. But I think a huge takeaway in what potentially you might have underestimated is when you look at a stock name, there's a reason why you don't look at penny stocks, right, Ronnie? Because you don't trust because you don't have time to vet the people behind a penny stock. Right. So you see the stocks within the S&P 500, correct?
Yes.
Because
most of my names are in the S&P 500, but I do go into the mid caps, which have valuations of at least a few $100 million. But I don't go.
Right, but you stay in that within the top tier of the mid cap.
Yes.
Right. So you have outsourced your personal vetting of senior management to the regulators, to the SEC, to the fact that they are publicly listed on in the US. For the same reason why you don't actually go out and did you ever recommend like a Chinese company on CNBC? Probably not, right?
No, I know. I've probably put out recommendations on probably between 50 and 100 ADRs over the years. And they were spread out across a dozen or two dozen countries.
Okay, but you still stick within the top tier of those.
Yes, I usually stick with the large cap ADRs because I assume that there is some regulation at that level in those other countries.
Right, and I came to the realization real quick that this space is completely unregulated, and the fact that you have created your own coin to me is a giant red flag. This was a big red flag to me, even with Ethereum, that went out and created the coin of Ethereum, by ignoring all of the regulations on securities. And it looks like Ethereum will be able to get away with it, but they may be the only ones, even though it seems like the regulators want to give some of these people a get out of jail free card. So this was the main reason why I don't believe in anything. And like you said it yourself, you somewhat trust the top 10 in the crypto space because you think you feel that the free market or the whatever closest we have, like basically
I would even go to the top 20 or the top 40. I mean, if there's 2,000 names and you're in the top 40, that's the top 2%. I'm going to look at the glass half full when I analyze a name like that. I assume they must be doing something right if they made it to the top 40.
Right.
And I could be wrong, but there's not that much turnover anymore in the top 20. So I think that a lot of the winners there will probably, I think we will see a bunch of those names remain in the top 20 for a few years. And there's one, I'm sure I've forgotten a lot of things to mention in this interview, but there's one thing that is very important for me to explain. People say, why did I keep reiterating my recommendation on DIG all the way down? And it's the same reason I've been reiterating Bitcoin for the last 12 months when we went from $20,000 to $4,000. I didn't want people to get out of something that I thought was going to go much higher in the next year or two. It's as simple as that. DIG and BTC were my two favorite names last year. And there's nothing I can do about it now. Hindsight is 2020. All I can say is that anyone who would have been in my shoes in the last 18 months probably would have handled this situation the same way, if not worse. I could not have been more responsible in the way that I handled this.
I actually believe you, Ronnie. I believe that you tried doing the best you could. Again, Dig you went outside of your top 20. You went down into the 100 space. And again, lessons learned. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen again. Right, Ronnie?
I'm so sorry about interrupting you, but you have to understand what happened here, Tom. In the second half of 2017, all of my recommendations were in the top 40, okay? And people started complaining to me. Remember, I had 3,000 subscribers here. I would get messages from people. Ronnie, why are you recommending Dash, Monero, Litecoin, and Ethereum? We know about those names already. We're paying you to give us something that we've never heard of before. And we want you to go into the gutter and try to pick a flower from all the weeds on CoinMarketCap and give us something with 2,000% upside. And I'll take it one step further. When people were calling me at the top of the market, I wasn't comfortable taking their money. I said, your timing is not good here. Why are you calling me when Bitcoin is at $20,000? I recommended this when it was at 2,570. You're calling me at 20,000. I will take your money. You can sign up for my service, but don't jump in with both feet. And the reason I'm willing to sign you on at this price level is because I think Bitcoin is going to be much higher than where it is today, a year or two from now. But we could have a nasty correction along the way. And damn it, I lost my train of thought.
It's because people weren't happy with your recommendations in the top.
Oh, yes.
They want you to make them millionaires from a sub penny.
Yes.
And these are the same people that hold you accountable when you're wrong on that choice.
And you know what I would tell people when they would get on the phone with me and they wanted to sign up for my service? I would tell them where I thought Bitcoin was going, and I would also tell them where I thought the stock market was going. I said, within 10 years, I think the Dow Jones is going to go from 25,000 to 50,000 in the next 10 to 15 years. And you know what those people told me? They said, I'm not interested in the stock market. I'm not waiting 10 years to double my money. I want to double it in the next few months. So instead of putting their money into the stock market and doubling their money over the next 10 years, they lost 85% of their money in 6 months. That's human nature. That's why I read the Bible. Human nature will never change. It hasn't changed in 2,000 years, and it's not going to change in the next 2,000 years.
All right. And I think on this note, we can go ahead and thank you, Ronnie, for coming on. Thank you for explaining your side and what you're trying to do to rectify the situation. I believe you're doing the right thing by going to the authorities on Dig and trying to expose them. And my goal for this interview was for people to understand the lessons of everyone's a genius in a bull market, and you're buying all of these little altcoins and you're expecting to be rich. And very few of you were able to get out at the top. I never, look, I always say you can trade short term, whatever you like. I don't care if they're scams or not. But when you start trying to like convince people that this is going to change the world for you to get out at the top, now you are being kind of scammy. Ronnie, you did not get out at the top. You did not. You said you were not going to pre-run your subscribers, and it looks like you will be holding Dig all the way down into zero. But I wish you the best in your communications with the FBI, with the Bermuda authorities, with the SEC, with the Canadian SEC version of the SEC, and try to get to the bottom of this. And hopefully, more people will be critical of a lot of these altcoins and projects. You guys know my position. My position is that only Bitcoin is long-term investment grade, while everything else, you should really, really do deep dive research into the projects, into the people, and you will find a lot of cockroaches hiding under there. And this is why I no longer do that. I'll stick to Bitcoin. If something happens to make it to the top, you know what? I don't care. I'm happy with my Bitcoin. That's my view on it. It's always was. Ronnie, thank you so much for coming on. Any closing thoughts you want to add, and where can people follow you?
No, I just want to thank you for giving me 100 minutes of your time just now. It's the longest. I've given more than 100 interviews. This was the longest. And I just want to say that I think that you're one of the most decent people in this space. I've known you now for 18 months. We've had a little bit of a dispute on technical analysis, and you beat me on this one. So you got the Dig chart right, but we'll see what happens the next time I try to catch a falling knife. I did try to catch a falling knife on Christmas Day with the stock market, and we jumped 1,700 points since then. And I think it was the most powerful 1-week rally in the history of the stock market. And I picked it on Christmas Day. I went out with 13 names on December 25th, and I told people to go shopping the day after Christmas, and the market jumped 1,100 points that day. And whoever's hearing me speak for the first time, I do have a sense of humor, and I am a pleasant person, but I'm not in a very joking mood today. So you're not going to see that side of me. And I have a different business model. My subscribers want a new name from me every week. And it's hard. It means I can't spend as much time on each name the way you do on Bitcoin. They want a new stock recommendation every couple of weeks. They want a couple of crypto names every month. And it means I don't have time to do background checks on every person from every company that I'm putting a recommendation out on. The last thing I wanted to say is that the stock ideas that I come up with are generated by a 155 variable computer model that took me 5 years to develop. And on Christmas Day, I put out 13 names. Do you think I did background checks on 156 board members the day before Christmas? No, the market was dropping like a rock, and I had to, shoot first and ask questions later. And I just, I crunched numbers all weekend, and I went out with those names. Did I do background checks on the board members of each of those 13 companies? Absolutely not. But I do tell people to do their own research and get second opinions. My target for Bitcoin is 28,000, looking out 12, 18 months from now. And if someone wants to get a second opinion, they're more than welcome to do that. I just hope they know who these people are that they're getting a second opinion from.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much for coming on. We'll continue to stay in touch. I will try to continue to convince you that in the future, it will only be Bitcoin. We will see how much I succeed. But keep an eye on a lot of the stuff in the top 10. And we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. And thank you for coming on again. And I'm sure I'll see you on the speaker circuit one of these days.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tom.